Hey, it's Hillary. Join me for a helpful and hopeful chat about mental health in our community. So grab a cup of coffee or tea. This is Wedgwood's Coffee Break Conversation. So let's jump right into today's chat. I'm excited to be sitting down with Jacklyn. Thanks for being here.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
I'll let you introduce yourself a little bit.
Yep. So my name is Jacklyn. I am a clinician here at Wedgwood Christian Services. I have been with Wedgwood for 3 years now.
Nice.
And I specialize in trauma and in anxiety, depression, mental illness, and substance abuse.
Okay. Do you see mostly kids, teens, adults?
I see a wide range.
Cool.
I have seen kids as young as 5 and adults throughout the ages.
That's awesome. Cool. Yeah. So I've heard a phrase recently that I'd love to dive into a little bit with you. The phrase was compare and despair, something our CEO has said occasionally. And it was used particularly in the context of teen mental health and social media. So what are some common ways in which people are comparing themselves, and how can this affect their mental well-being?
Yeah. So people are comparing themselves a lot in their daily life. A big one is, with looks and with weight standards, especially in the teenage years when there's like body dysmorphia and we're growing into our bodies. It is so easy to look at a Photoshop picture and think it's real and compare kind of, oh, I don't look like that person. I'm not pretty enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not doing what they're doing. It grows throughout everyone's life. We all have those moments where we compare to each other in different ways, but especially at adolescence, when kids are still growing and they still have that shaping mind, it's easy to look at others and think of the negative qualities they have about themselves in comparison with other people.
Yeah. And being a teenage girl, having been a teenage girl at one point in my life, is already pretty awful. And so to add on top of that, looking at other people's highlight reel and thinking like, oh, I'm not good enough, just makes it all worse.
Yep. And we have the TikTok videos of people dancing and, doing the celebrity influencers. And it's really hard not to look at that and think they have a perfect life. And what am I doing wrong?
Yeah. We started to talk about it a little bit, but how does social media influence our tendency to compare ourselves with others? And what are the emotional and mental health impacts of that?
It brings a lot of stress and it brings a lot of shame, which is unwarranted in a lot of situations. A lot of times we hear it's not real. It's people and the influencers themselves will tell us like, oh, there's so much behind the scenes. But when it's constantly thrown at you and when it's constantly thrown at kids and teenagers, it can bring a lot of added stress to who they already are trying to become. And it can influence their personalities in ways in which maybe aren't the best or aren't truly them, and interfere with just being your beautiful, unique self.
Are there things like certain personality traits or life situations that can make people more susceptible to struggles that come with comparing?
Yeah. Everyone has worries and it's okay to worry in some degree, but when those worries become that constant and when it becomes the struggle with anxiety, you're going to compare yourself more with others. And those people who are more people pleasing, different situations such as such as trauma instances when you're younger can lead to what we call that people-pleasing response, that kind of fawn, fight, flight, freeze, fawn response that can lead to wanting to be like others or shape your personality towards others to be liked more. So definitely previous traumas or anxiety responses can have a big influence on that.
And why can comparing our lives or our accomplishments or even our appearances to others be so detrimental?
It stops us from being who we are and down in our core. And it really does add the added stress to be better. You're always trying to get better to meet that person. You're always trying to lose more weight or gain more weight or be perfect in the way you're at because you have to be like this person and get more. And instead of just recognizing I'm enough for who I am, is that growing tendency of I have to be better to get better to succeed in life.
Never feeling like you're enough can really wear on you.
Oh, yes. Yep.
Can comparison ever be beneficial or is it always harmful?
It can be beneficial, just like stress can be beneficial. It's kind of the added on in the same way. We have even competitors. Basketball players can compare themselves to other players and try to get better. And it can be a way to push us. It can be a way to push people in the right direction. It's just when it gets overwhelming that it becomes that big problem.
So instead of comparison, maybe it's just when you have a new perspective is when it is beneficial.
Yeah. Exactly. Along the lines of, okay, let's say just taking that sports example again of basketball, this person can make more baskets than I can at the free throw line. I'm going to compare myself to him, but in a way that I want to improve like him or her, and use that to my advantage to keep practicing, to keep getting to where I want to be.
Yeah. So like that's a goal I'd like to set for myself as opposed to I will never be a good basketball player unless I'm just like them.
Exactly. Yes.
Cool.
100%.
It's a great perspective. How can we recognize when comparison is becoming a significant problem? It might be time to seek outside help.
When it's consuming you, basically. When you are always looking at social media to find how are they better. When you're always looking into and trying to change who you are to be that other person or to be the person that you're striving to be, but you feel like you are never getting there. When the thoughts in your head become more degrading rather than, like you said, building up and positive. So examples of thoughts of you're not good enough, you're too fat, you're too skinny, you don't look good, like all of those just constantly play on that loop. That is when it's time to seek out.
How can individuals create a healthier relationship with social media and other platforms where comparison might be a little more prevalent?
I think the biggest thing is recognizing that it's not real and remembering that. And I think the media, in a way, has done a good job of putting that in people's minds more, but it's still hard to recognize it's not real when all you're seeing is the beautiful, is the luxurious. So remembering that everybody has struggles, everyone has things that you might not see that they're working through. Everyone has points in their life where they're gonna feel like they're not good enough, but they always are. And just having that perseverance and that positive self-talk can go a long way.
I heard somebody describe it once that sometimes it's not fair to compare your full story to somebody else's highlight reel.
Exactly.
It's a hard thing to remember sometimes, but it's really true.
Yeah.
What about in like a situation, like we'll go back to our basketball example, which is going to be a basketball podcast today. When would you recognize when you're using somebody as a motivation or somebody's goals as like something you'd also like to reach? When might it be start to get detrimental in those sort of situations?
Yeah. For the example of the basketball, if you are putting a lot of effort into being better and into maybe even shaping yourself. So we see a lot of this, and to kind of flip sports like dance too, of, you have to be skinny to be a ballerina. So I am going to maybe not eat the healthiest or create some unhealthy patterns to lose weight. With basketball, it's I need to practice 4 hours every day. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to sleep, like get to bed on time. It's really that consuming aspect of it of I just need to be better. And even when you have accomplishments, they don't feel good enough. So you can make all the shots in the game, but you miss that one, and that is the worst thing that you've had.
And that's when it's time to maybe seek some support.
We see kind of that catastrophizing or minimizing of, okay, you've done so well, but no, it's that one little thing that sets me over the edge that I'm going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing to try to change and get better.
So if we can kind of recognize when we might be, starting to compare ourselves a little too much to others or other situations, what are some practical strategies that people can use to reduce the negative impacts of comparison on their mental health?
The big one, which I'm sure everyone's heard, is try to limit social media. I myself am a victim to TikTok. I love it, but also recognizing that even if you don't recognize it, it can be a detriment to your mental health if on it too long. Another thing is just finding, I keep coming back to finding those positive thoughts that you can think instead in your head. I talked about kind of that minimizing of accomplishments where people can think, oh, I did good, but I didn't do good enough. And kind of flipping that switch around to have the thought be more even a neutral of I'm doing the best I can and it's good. Or instead of I don't like this about myself, even switching that language to I am a human and I'm changing. And having those phrases in our minds that a lot of people like to think challenging thoughts is I have to turn I'm not good to I'm perfect. And that's not a realistic standard. It has to be that realistic, like I am human, I am changing, and I'm enough. And kind of have that phrasing out.
I love that. Switching it to even just a neutral thought. That's so cool. And like just a good baseline. Like if you are struggling, you're a human. That's it. That's all.
Exactly.
I love that. You also talked about, when you're doing a lot of really good things and sometimes they don't feel like enough. How do you think gratitude can tie into kind of counteracting comparison?
Oh, it ties a big way because then you are looking at those positives. You're looking at I'm grateful for my job. I'm grateful for my friends, but it can even be pushed one step further to I'm grateful for my friends because they're always there and I know I'm a good friend and I attract that energy. I'm grateful for my job because it brings me what I need. Like adding that one step further to even not just say I'm grateful for this, but why and how do I contribute back to that as well?
Oh, that's cool. I've not thought about the contributing back to it. So it all works together. That's really cool. How can gratitude have an impact on our mental health?
It just allows us to have more of that positive mindset. It allows us to see what in life we do have rather than focusing on that negative, that comparison. It allows us to set back those core beliefs. A lot of what we're thankful for is our value system. And truly finding, even if it's small, such as I'm very thankful for music. Like I am a musician. That's what I do to ground myself, and I can pull myself back in that moment and be grateful, and even be grateful that I'm good at it as well.
You said something about gratitude kind of helps you focus on what you do have. And when you're looking at all of the things in your life that you do have and you're feeling gratitude for them, it makes looking at what other people have seem less interesting almost.
Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't say less interesting, but you're allowed more to see what is yours. These are the things that are special to me, and these are the things that I care deeply for. So yeah, people have other things that are great for them and that they value, and that is amazing. But I have my own personal things in my life that I truly love that I'm going to be grateful for.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I love that. Are there ways that we can practice gratitude outside of like at Thanksgiving dinner, like going around and saying what we're thankful for? What are other ways that we can practice gratitude and integrate that into our everyday lives?
Yeah. Really, I mean, the simple answer is just saying, you know, I'm very thankful for what I have. But a lot of times that doesn't feel like enough, especially at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So there are different ways to share gratitude. There are different ways to show gratitude. If it's relationships, for example, it's easier, you know, a lot of times in the mental health field, we say filling the cup.
Mm-hmm.
You fill your own cup to fill the cups of others. And it's very helpful to kind of show that gratitude in your own ways to others to get it back as well. So it's more than just, I'm grateful for my friends. It can be writing a note, or even I'm grateful for who I am, and writing a little note for yourself to be like, hey, I'm so thankful that I have this in my life and these qualities, and really, again, expanding on that gratitude in different ways and showing it throughout your day.
That's cool. And I really like that you bring up like you should externalize your gratitude too.
Yeah.
Because I think it can be really easy to kind of do those positive affirmations and like think through what you're grateful for and write it in your journal. But like then to do something with it.
Exactly.
Almost feels like it magnifies the impact.
I can say, you know, I'm grateful for my family, but those are words. I am grateful for my family because they're always there for me. I'm grateful for my family because I can show they support me in these ways, and find the ways that the things you show gratitude for are serving you and bringing you back.
That's so cool. I love that advice, Jacklyn. Thank you so much for this coffee break, and thank you for all of your work supporting the mental health of our community here in West Michigan.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Wedgwood's Coffee Break Conversation podcast. You can help us get these important mental health chats in front of more people by rating and reviewing the show. Give us 5 stars and a quick comment on why you listen on your favorite podcast platform or on YouTube. It makes a big difference. You can also check out wedgwood.org/podcast for fun ways you can support Wedgwood and this show. Stay hopeful, stay helpful, and let's have another coffee break soon.